Okay, I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. First, we have assignment to request for council action for finance. 14,188 expenditure over 15,000 for Vasco asphalt. 14,189 purchase rear loader Packer body sanitation. 14,190 budget amendments. 14,191 increase PO 2014-295 legal services. 14,192 expenditure over 15,000 Davy Tree Farm. 14,194 fall tree planting and tree purchase. 14,195 increase PO 2014-15 Lake County Sewer Company. 14,196 increase PO 2014-256 Cargill Salt. Public property 14,193 Uptown Park Sound System usage fees. And Streets and Sidewalks Committee 14,197 discuss costs for new streetlights on Reagan Parkway. First item is 14,188 expenditure over 15,000 for Vasco asphalt for the Parks Department. Mr. Worley?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is for our Reagan Park, the section over by Field 1, which is right there on Weymouth Road, the upper parking lot. There's a basketball court there. This was on our capital improvement list to improve this area in 2014. We got 3 quotes from Crossroads, Perrin, and Vasco sports contractors for the paving. The surfacing and striping, I asked for a price from Coaster Seal Coating as well as Vasco sports contractors. Vasco is the one contractor who has done our sealing and striping at Ken Cleveland and Ray Miller Park on all 3 of our recent projects there. Vasco was the cheapest for the asphalt and was the only one to provide us for the seal coating and striping, so I'm recommending that we move forward with Vasco for this project. In order to help save costs, Parks is going to be removing the existing court and doing the rough grading for the project.
Questions?
Is asphalt the only material we can use that's as reliable? Are there any other?
I mean, we can use
options?
concrete, but we've been getting pretty good life. The current court that's there is over 15 years old.
Okay.
And this is going to be a complete redo. It's not just a layover. We'll be putting
Taking
in
it down to the base?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're also expanding it to make it a little bit bigger. It's one of our most frequently used basketball courts besides Miller.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 14,189 purchase of a rear loader Packer body for the sanitation department. Mr. Kohler?
Thank you, Mr. President / Acting Mayor. This is for Bell Equipment. And as we talked about in the past, we just bought a Packer body truck for $176,000, which was, we estimated $220,000 for the truck. So this option, which is going to be additional, we do have in the budget, is going to be $76,307, and it's through the national bid, which is similar to the state bid. We're asking this council to allow us to put a Packer body on one of our trucks that we can dismount the Packer body and put a new 25 cubic yard Durapack high compaction rear loader on our cab and chassis. So that's just kind of thinking out of the box. Usually we'd get rid of the truck, cab, chassis, Packer body, and get all new. We did buy one new one. This is an additional Packer body for an existing truck that we own that we could get life out of.
And is this existing Packer body that you can get life out of one that was going to be replaced next year?
Well, I don't think it was, it has like, it's number 43, I'm not sure how it falls in the rotation. I don't think it was gonna be replaced next year. It fell a little bit lower in the replacement category. But because it has a great cab and chassis and engine and tranny, the guys were kind of thinking, well, we might as well just put a Packer body on this one versus getting a whole new truck. So I think it replaces a truck next year where we were thinking about buying another. We don't have to do that.
Is there a Packer body on this truck currently?
There is. That'll be cut off, dismounted, taken to the scrapyard, and the city will receive the, compensation for that. And then this new state bid quote will allow us to put a 25 cubic yard Packer body on our cab and chassis.
And what size Packer bodies on the truck?
25 cubic yard.
And I assume the Packer bodies go before the truck goes?
They do, and you can put money into them, 25, 30,000 to rebuild them. We don't always do it. We've done one other since in the time that I've been here. This is a great price. The original quote was $86,000. John and Adam talked to the gentleman. They figured out some things that we could do, and the price came down roughly $10,000 from initial quote of $86,780.
And how is the Packer body in the old truck holding up?
It's shot. It needs.
No, I mean, when you replaced it, you did this once before.
A long time ago, yes, that truck is,
So how-
it's gone.
But how did it perform, I guess? Did you
It
get
did
the
well.
expectations?
It did well. It has to be the right, it has to be the right cab and chassis that we can get some life out of versus, you're not gonna put it on one of the oldest trucks in the fleet, but you're not, and a newer truck in the fleet would not need a new Packer body, so it has to be the right.
So do you think we'll get more useful life out of this rather than having to spend another $200,000 on another Packer body in the
Yes.
next couple of years?
That's what the fellows, I had them research that, and I asked them, and I think it warrants spending less than $80,000, a third of the cost of a new truck and Packer body. So yes, the answer is.
Questions?
And how long do you anticipate this to extend the life of the current body of the truck itself?
Well, with a new Packer body, the new Packer body should last 10 years. The cab and chassis, maybe 7 or 8 more.
Okay.
So 7 or 8 at the minimum.
And so then you take that Packer body and put it on another one? for the-
It could be transferred to another vehicle in the fleet.
Would it be?
We have to assess that. I can't answer that tonight. I mean, I have to look at it. I don't want to say that. We could, and then we don't. But you said,
Answer, because you don't know whether it's going to be broken, right, healthy in 10 years.
Oh, right, well, I hope it lasts 10
That's
years, and that's what we're buying.
Yeah.
Well, for you and Adam and whoever else
John.
researched it, John, thanks for thinking outside the box. and Sounds like a good idea.
I think it is as well.
To approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 14-190, budget amendments, we have 2014-059, Lake Medina Trail.
Both of these came out of last finance meeting. This was how we had decided to allocate this out. Part of it's just generally available unappropriated money in the general purpose capital fund. And then the other part of it is moved over from park salaries.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion on Lake Medina? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2014-060, Can Lake Walk, electric irrigation money.
Same thing, we talked about this last finance meeting, decided to take this out of electric irrigation. This is the appropriation adjustment to do that.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
For, if you didn't know, Wadsworth wants to do this now,
Oh, do they?
and Ravenna wants to do it now. He's been contacted by both cities to do lights in their cities now. So,
But I'm deferring the calls to John because I don't have time to deal with that. Yes.
so Nina's gonna be going to Ravenna. Putting money stuff out there. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
That was 4-3.
Mark, Brian, and I voted no again.
Right,
Oh.
4-3.
Too much work.
That was a bit.
14-191, increase PO 2014-295 to Zashin and Rich Law Department. Mr. Huber.
Mr. Huber asked me to address this since I couldn't be here. Most of this is because the contract negotiations with the district are ongoing, and we plan for that with the original PO.
So it's an $8,000 increase over their current request.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 14-192, expenditure over $15,000, Davis Tree Farm. Mr. Worley?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an expense for tree purchases that is further detailed in my request for council action. This is going to be part of our fall tree planting list. We purchased approximately $11,000 worth of trees from Davis Tree Farm in the spring. So this will be increasing that for the fall.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
I've got a question. Over on Lakeshore Walk and Larkin's Way, the trees all seem to be kind of close together. As we discussed earlier, your plan is to spread that out a little bit. and
Yeah, we're
Like in the
gonna-
one corner, there's 5 trees on that tree line, and where the next block over, there's only 3.
Basically, the way, when we design our plantings, we're going to take into account the storm laterals, the gas laterals, the underground utilities, and proximity to stop signs, street signs, things of that nature. So a lot of these trees that are going to be replaced are emerald ash borer replacements, and we're taking into account how many trees were there, the underground utilities, and deciding what is appropriate for that site based on the species and the potential for the trees to grow and what size they're going to be at maturity. So, yeah, we'll take that into account.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 14-195, increase PO 2014-14-15, Lake County Sewer for the Streets Department. Mr. Pacoli?
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, does the council want me to explain briefly the grouting, how the grouting works in the sewer?
You skipped the
This is
following
over in
plan.
my
Oh.
second part.
Oh, I just crossed that right off. I'm sorry.
Wish it was that easy.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold off on that thought, you know. 14-194, fall tree planting and tree purchase.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is what I hinted to a minute ago. Our fall tree planting project is approximately 237 trees. Several years ago, we divided our tree planting basically into two line items. We bid out the tree installation itself so that we could take over more control of where our trees were coming from, the quality of nursery stock that we were getting, and it gives us the ability to buy local trees that are native to our soil. So we typically buy trees from 3 nurseries, up to 3 nurseries, get their availabilities and select the trees. As such, the breakdown for our fall project has put us over the $25,000 threshold for Paradise Tree Farm because they just so happen to be the low bidder for the tree installation part of the project. We sent that out to numerous contractors, got quotes back from 2 of them. So the total for this fall, the Paradise Tree Farm is going to be approximately $9,000 to install 237 trees, which is a great price. And then in addition, we'll also be purchasing trees from them and the previously approved Davis Tree Farm.
Okay.
So we're getting a fantastic price by the way that we're doing things.
Move to approve with emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause.
Questions, Mark?
Jansen, real quick,
Yeah.
it is a great price for the installation. How can we be reassured that it's going to be done properly? Is it
Okay.
done
Yeah,
before?
in the informal bid specs that you see, on the 3rd page of that we sent out, there's a tree planting requirement page, which is where the contractor signs off on it. Then there is a final inspection sign-off where the contractor acknowledges the requirements. The city also supervises all the planting to ensure that the burlaps are removed, the trees installed properly, following the ANSI standards. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, 195, increase PO 2014-15, Lake County Sewer. Mr. Pacoli?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I was starting to state earlier, I'm not sure if the council want me to explain briefly how the grouting works, or does everyone have a good understanding of what this is?
High
Lake.
level. I called Patrick on Friday, because in Lake County, South Florida.
Correct.
But you want to explain?
In a nutshell, we identify a sewer problem through camera. Once we identify the problem area, we'll know because of low flow, then we'll go in, jet it, and we clean the pipe, and then the defects and the voids will be filled with the slurry. We cannot do that in-house. This is done by this firm, Lake County Sewer Company, and maybe one other. There's not too many that do it. So we pay almost $3,000 a day to have their equipment on location. So the idea is to get done as much pipe as possible, manhole to manhole, upon identifying, the problem areas. So that depends on the size of the pipe. We have 8-inch, we have 10-inch, there's 15, there's 18, even 20, 21-inch sewer pipe. So depending on how big the pipe is, the distance, as well as how many voids are in that identified pipe. So I'm asking to increase this because we do have multiple areas, as you probably all well know from the calls that you receive. So the idea is to get as many as we can fixed as we go forward. So I have this PO from June. They were so busy, it took up until last week to get them scheduled here. That was almost 3.5 months, so they showed up. We had a week's worth of work. We had a lot of work done on the areas of Valley and Pleasant Valley. West Ave, yeah.
Okay.
And we're moving over into Bristol Lane and I believe Newfield,
Thank you.
as I spoke with Jim and a couple of his constituents as well. So having said that, we need to increase this, and I'm going to council with, or I'm sorry, Board of Control in the next 2 weeks for a additional PO for a secondary company out of Columbus for another $15,000.
Questions?
So that's it.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 14-196, increase PO 2014-256, cargo salt purchase.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one bin full. We've been told and have not received, Gary has an email from the state on a verbal that the price of salt is going to be $54.97 this winter. Last year's rate was $34.20. So as you see, the request we want to fill from the existing funds we have, a total of $64,027 prior to winter, so we can have a full complement before we go into winter.
Questions?
You know, with the increase in salt, have we looked at how we're gonna salt these roads a little more efficiently? I mean, obviously keep them safe, but have you looked at what we can do because we're paying more to?
Yes, I've talked to the mayor briefly, and with Bill Davis being promoted to superintendent, Gary's retiring in November. We're having a meeting with the PD and the mayor, myself, maybe John, I'm not sure, representing the council, and we are going to take a different approach. We're talking a little bit more about mixing some more haydite, maybe some smaller aggregate being stone. Cinders we try to shy away from because of the way they coagulate in the storm sewers. We are probably going to have, because the way, if we have the winter we had last year, it'll cost the budget just in chemicals alone $100,000 more. And that's what is being forecasted, not to Dave Brown things. To answer your question.
What?
There was ice out this morning. It's a possibility of first frost tonight.
I 38.
Yeah, I was there.
Uh,
5
But I
a.m.
did hear something on the radio.
This $55 per ton bid, is that what we'll be paying for the remainder of the season?
Yes, for the winter
Based on
season.
that attachment there, that's pretty good. Based on the $118
That's
some
what I-
communities are paying.
I had heard triple prices, so until we receive the contract, which is contract 018, Gary informed me today, in talking with ODOT, we're supposed to receive it in October sometime, which I don't understand. If they know the prices, why have they not sent the contract out?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Well,
So,
is there anything else you wish to come before finance before we move into our executive session?
Well, maybe we're not. Kathy, was Greg?
was supposed
was supposed to be here for executive
I
I
session?
think
seen
you,
Greg,
I thought he told you he was leaving.
Oh, yeah, but I thought he was coming back.
Oh, I don't know that. I
Right.
didn't hear that part.
I don't know
I can
when he's
call
coming
him.
back.
You want me to call him?
Well, after the meeting, we'll call him. If we have to come back in the recess, we can, but he may not be here probably till 7. So I'm not sure how we do that. We just
Then
kind
that's
of
what
hold
I'm
the meeting
thinking,
open
actually.
until,
I think
or
his
just do it
truck's
after
not
council.
Oh, did he?
Or we can find out where he's at, I guess, and then take it from there.
You want me to call him?
Okay. Maybe he can
What?
participate on his own.
I thought you said something else. Stop interrupting me, I'm supposed to be doing something.
Or anything?
Has
Everybody thinking about the budgets? Figure we're gonna get $500,000 here?
Do we want to not?
Dino's credit card.
That help?
Say it again.
Do we want to mention the CIC thing, just because it's probably going to come through next week?
We had at the Board of Control today, we talked about the CIC, so some members of the council were at the meeting. They talked about giving money to the 2 companies who are affected by the change in use fee. PJ Marley's in the amount of $14,000, and who's the other one? An amount of $50,000, I think, that to pay. The CIC committee spoke about contributing 10% to help offset that in a cash contribution. And there's discussion about a provision whereby they have to stay, in the city so long in order to get that money. If they leave early, they have to pay some of it back proportionally, or however that is. But the question is, the city of Medina can't do that, of course. The CIC can, but the only way for the CIC to do that would be that the city council would have to approve the amount of money to be transferred from the city, the JED funds, to the CIC, and the CIC would, and Greg Huber's looking at this to make sure that it's legally the way to do it, because I believe it is, because the city can't do it directly to a private individual, of course. But the question is, what do you do for businesses that are facing this situation and are gonna leave? What's, you know, what is more important?
So it's 10%.
10%.
Is what you're talking about, 10% of.
$1,400 and then $5,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I'm in favor of it, I would be in favor of it, but it's not much, that's not much of a contribution.
That's all we can do, I guess. I mean, the question is, you know, when other people come with the situation, and I know the county's doing a study to make a determination of what the costs are gonna be, but
How long is it gonna take the county to do the study?
It's supposed to be in
You're
October.
gonna have the study done by the end of the month,
Which month?
end of October, I'm sorry.
Okay, I
And
mean,
then this
we
month.
had that meeting with,
Recommendations to the commissioners, but we have to see what the study says and what the recommendations are.
we had that meeting with the commissioners,
wait,
I don't know, months ago, and I think a number of people made it pretty clear that it was not, this was not acceptable. But not only for here, but I mean, for every city, every place in the county.
wait.
Well, they did, and that's to your point, they did move up the study, because they weren't gonna do it until the end of this year, and they moved that up to this month, so they already put the bid out.
That's good, but if they were proactive, and if they actually were smart about business, they would have moved it up years before now.
Well, yeah, like 40 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, well, when the building boom, when the industrial boom stopped, is when they needed to look at that.
Right.
However they arrive at the fee, I don't know. But, you know, when they discussed it in here, I mean, it was a pretty big shocker, especially for a bunch of folks that talk about being pro-business. I mean, that was about the biggest anti-business thing you would face anywhere. And at PJ Marley's, I mean, if you look at the size of the business and then you look at that amount of money, that's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to say to her when she called me, and when she first got hit with the $14,000.
I guess what you'd say is go jump across the county line, you know, go to Wayne County or someplace, I don't know, go to someplace where they don't have an arbitrary sewer fee that they haven't looked at in decades. And, you know, so if we can give 10%, I guess that's a help, but, you know, that's kind of like a lunch to a homeless person. I mean, you know, they're not going to stay full forever.
Well, it's true, but it's gonna at least help and assist and show them that the city of Medina
Yeah.
understands the issue and was willing to assist in the issue.
It basically
Absolutely.
equates to 10 months worth of payments. What we're offering, our 10% is equal to like 10 months of that payment.
And there was discussion if the payment's up front first, if the payment's made over a couple times, just to make sure if there's a change in the view by the commissioners and the engineering department of the fee itself, if it goes down, of course, we proportionally would be able to go down also. I believe that's how the CIC was going to
Yes,
address
and
it.
then, you know, the recommendation would be for the county to just bill us on their bi-monthly billing cycle. You know, if everybody was in agreement and we had a way to do it, so that we're not paying all the money up front, that we would just pay in bi-monthly increments.
So, I mean, that's going to be coming up, and I guess I don't, you know, there's one other additional assistance, and it's coming from the JED funds, which of course is income tax dollars, but within the JED district.
Kimberly, is there any other businesses recently, before all this, that had to pay that might be coming, looking for the same, or?
Not that it was brought to our attention. These two happened within like a month of each other,
Right.
very close to each other. PJ Marley's, they were hit first, and then Medina Plating, so, and I haven't gotten any other requests on the change of use fee. Now, we did, when we went to the commissioners meeting earlier this is September, so it was earlier this month, we had quite a few people from the chamber leadership there, who's really trying to advocate for this whole change of use fee to just be waived altogether. So the county is probably gonna wait to see what the study says, to see if they'll actually waive it altogether. But right now, what they did is they froze that $52,000 fee for 3 to 5 years for Sean Ritchie.
Yeah.
There's some provisions tied to that as well.
Sure.
But they did freeze that rate.
Kimberly, what about the wine bar? Did they get a fee, additional fee too?
Yes, but it's not a change of use fees because they're putting in a restroom, so, and it's not that significant, and she didn't have an issue with it at all.
Okay.
She was very comfortable with it. And so that's another thing that we're doing is as we're meeting with new businesses, we're passing out Amy's card so that people can contact her up front, because you want to know what that cost is up front, because if you're negotiating on the price of a building, I think Patty Stahl would have probably negotiated $14,000 less, had she known that.
Good.
Has there been any inquiries, because I've had a couple phone calls, on Whitey's store? I've been told there's been a couple inquiries.
For a new tenant?
For a new tenant that, and one of them was Mr. Morris that said he had a tenant willing to make a commitment until they found out about the change of use fee.
I know one person that was looking at that space and found a better space.
Okay.
Because they didn't have to put as much money into it. It was already fixed up and there was very, very little that they had to do with this other space that became available, so.
You know, I talked to Lyle about that too, and he didn't bring up the change of use, but I mentioned to him, because he talked about the upgrades that were needed. It actually hasn't been upgraded for.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I think we went there in high school.
Right.
And if you go through the offices upstairs, you know, I guess if I was gonna rent a place, I'd wanted to upgrade it a tad, but he didn't tell me about the change.
That's what he
of
called
use.
me about, was
Yeah,
the change
yeah.
of use fee.
It's a great corner.
Go ahead.
Does this have any impact on the beer tasting facility that was going in on Smith Road?
Loggerheads.
Yeah, Loggerheads, right?
Yeah, they work closely with the county sewer, and it really wasn't really any issues over there, over at Loggerheads.
No, but you know, he did tell me if, we did talk about it, but he said if he was going to get charged $52,000, that would be a deal breaker.
It would be, okay. All right.
But that's not the case for him again. He's okay.
He's okay with, okay, minimal change, all
How do
right.
you have a change of use at a building that's empty and is like where the beer place is going? And not have a change of use fee that's untenable, but you have a change of use fee that's so large at PJ Marley's.
It's tied to basically the number of people that will be in there using the bathrooms, basically is what it
So at a
goes
place
down
where
to.
people are drinking beer, they're not gonna use the bathroom?
Loggerheads is a production facility, so there's probably already in there enough for the employees that would be working there.
But I thought it was a tasting, I thought it was gonna have.
They haven't really implemented that part, but it's probably gonna be so small.
Okay,
So
okay, because I never drank beer when I didn't have to.
they probably haven't included that, they didn't include that in their plans, but PJ Marley's goes from mercantile, a bank, to added bathroom, is gonna, a lot more people are gonna be flushing toilets, is the theory. So, that's why Loggerheads is okay, as opposed to PJ Marley's.
Okay, well, thanks for explaining that, because on the surface, that just didn't seem to
Yeah.
quite add up to me.
Oh, no pun intended on that one. You had one comment, Mark?
Well, I was just trying to forecast down the road, if we get a really large business where it's a really big number, and that 10% is gonna,
Good.
could be a very big number.
I mean, there is a
Still
precedent
gonna-
that's being set here somewhat.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Right.
Not that I disagree with it, I'm just
Especially for
trying
some
to
of the
figure out where we
facilities
get the
on
money in the
Lake
future.
It wasn't part of the conversation. First of all, the restriction was going to be potentially just in the 9-block area or on a case-by-case basis, that it wasn't something that was going to be set every time.
Yeah, we were looking at the 9-block area for the historic district, and in the case of Medina Plating as a retention project, because, we're at a risk of losing all of that company to Kentucky. So not only are we trying to retain them, but we want them to grow here, and if they keep that project here, then they're gonna install more lines, and then they will create more jobs.
This is
So-
definitely something that will, has a very large potential of a big gain for the city. I agree.
Okay. With that said, I don't believe we need an executive session this evening, from a little note I received. So,
Good, go on.
is there anything else that needs to be coming for our finance committee?
What will we do for now?
Want to go get something to eat?
Do you want to know about Gatsby 68?
No, no, no.
Oh my God, I was definitely
With that, the finance meeting is adjourned.